Welcome to episode 5 of Raise the Floor. Today we've got James Farey, the performance chef. In this episode, we speak about education, nutrition, and the impact it has on our lives. So welcome to episode 5 of Raise the Floor. Today we've got James Farey with us, owner of the performance chef. So we'll get into a bit about your background, your career, where you've come from and where that's ended up. But doing a little bit of research yesterday and over the last few weeks, did you start at 15 in the food industry?
Yeah, I think it's probably even before then.
Yeah.
My mum was a chef.
Right.
So it's always kind of
Been with you.
family. Yeah. But I was probably like washing dishes in restaurants with my mum.
Yeah.
13, kind of like jumped on the starters and a few mains and kind of just went from there.
Did you kind of have the love for it at the start?
I would say I was interested.
Yeah.
Because it's always kind of been in my family. So when obviously I got my time to cook, it was just like, it just felt natural.
Yeah.
The first moment I put a chef jacket on,
Yeah.
I just knew this is what I was going to do, for like years and years to come.
And what was I guess it was kind of, you were at the entry level when you first started. What did you learn at that early?
Do you know what? When you first walk into kitchens, you're just kind of like a sponge. You just, there's so many big personalities in the kitchen. You just kind of like swamped by, you just, sip it up and just jump in.
Yeah.
And just getting hammered from every reason. You just literally probably run around grabbing stuff for the chefs and maybe chopping some onions, just like all the bad jobs.
And is it as kind of aggressive and as bad as like the TV would have you?
100%.
Yeah.
I think maybe worse.
Yeah.
There's some restaurants that you go in. It all kind of depends on the kind of philosophy of the head chef. Depending on like what his personality is how that kind of filters down. I've been in kitchens with some like really cool guys and it's calm, chilled, and you got other ones where there's complete nutters.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's always fun, always a different experience, and like not one day is the same as well, so keeps it spicy.
And did you think that going into it, did you know what you was getting into when you went into it?
Not really. I would say I always knew, because obviously my mum was a chef and she kind of went through all her kind of stages and motions in that industry. So for me, it was always, I kept like an open mind of what I was going into, but I kind of did know what I was walking into. But again, it's different kitchens, different chefs. Yeah, it's always different.
And do you think that it takes a kind of personality type to be successful in that industry?
I think you need to have quite a hard exterior. You can get a lot of stuff thrown at you, a lot of names being called. I've seen chefs, hundreds, in and out of kitchens come and go. So I think you just need to have the drive that that's what you want to do. And if you know that's the career choice that you are going down, it just makes life a lot easier. You just take the punches and just roll with it.
Yeah. I feel like someone outside looking in, it can kind of be a little bit of a toxic kind of place at times.
Is.
But
no, 100%.
We'll go on to a little bit like some of the customers you work with now.
Yeah, cool.
But do you see like similarities in sort of the kitchen and maybe like football areas? I'm kind of thinking when the tales of young footballers when they're coming through as their apprenticeships there, it's kind of the same level of...
100%, yeah. I work with a lot of athletes and, the kitchen and the training ground, there is the hierarchy, you working your way up until you prove yourself. And it's probably with a lot of industries, until you've earned that respect and proved yourself with that craft, then it kind of opens the doors up to, an easier life.
Yeah. And you think that builds character in that time?
100%. When you walk into kitchens at a young age, you're 15, 16 years old, you don't even know yourself yet.
Yeah.
So as you're growing, it kind of builds character and you kind of, find out where you are as well. So no, I totally agree. I think, you kind of find your own path, build your own character and, just go with that. But yeah, it's a crazy industry and it does kind of represent the football side of things, as you're building your way up and meeting new people, it changes how you approach it as well.
And I think from an outside looking in, or I guess with most industries now, as we kind of evolve into a kind of better working place environment, do you think you're going to lose some of that character building as a result of it changing?
Yeah, to be fair, I've not been in a kitchen for like a long time, like a
Yeah, yeah.
professional restaurant kitchen. I come out of the industry probably about 10 years ago, but with friends and other people who I do know that are still in it, it has changed a lot. You know, there's a
Yeah.
lot of rules now. You've got HR that's involved. So, yeah, I think you're a little bit more suppressed and you can't do the screaming, the shouting. I think just save that for TV.
Yeah, yeah. And what made you kind of get out of the kitchen in that respect?
I think it was family, overworked. It was normal to do when you're in like a Michelin background, the 16-hour days, 6 days a week, sometimes 7. There was like a culture in place where, you know, if you take a day off or you're sick or you leave a couple hours early, it's like a kind of like I don't know what to say. It's more of you need to be 100% in this game. Otherwise, you're kind of looked down upon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like this whole hustle mentality where,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, but then you think, you know, I'm on minimum wage, I'm grinding, I'm tired, I've got no blood in my face left.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's like, it comes to a stage where you think like, is this 100% worth what I'm doing? Is it worth my health? You know, a lot of chefs go out afterwards, drinking,
Yeah, yeah.
in kitchens the night after. And it just got to a point where I was stressed, I was feeling the pinch. And I thought, you know what, I'm not getting any younger. I kind of always had the love for nutrition, so I was learning that on the side as the restaurant stuff, and then, you know, just kind of found my own way out. Yeah, and here I am now.
And what was that first step out of the kitchen that
It
you
was,
took?
yeah, it was tough. So I've always done private chefing on the side. My nan was a house manager for a royal family in London, an Arab royal family. And I was probably about 23, 24. And they needed a chef for the evening.
Right.
Like, I was proper like out of my depth.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, do you know, fancy going in, you know, making some dinner after you work at a good restaurant? But I was like, yeah, let's do it. I was absolutely crapping.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it all started, because
Yeah.
I just saw a total different life. And, you know, I went in there, I got my ingredients. I didn't really know what I was doing. I knew I had a menu and I could cook. But luckily they were super chilled. And yeah, I just pulled off like an amazing meal for them all. And it kind of just opened the door up to like, you know, more work along that line. So that's kind of where it first started. But yeah, super, super great experience.
And was you
through the door.
were you nervous stepping out of that, even though it was like hustle mentality, working long hours? Was it kind of a big step to leave that behind and go into something new?
Yeah, 100%. I'm quite sociable. So for me, I had a great team around me. I had good friends in there. So to work on my own was so different.
Yeah.
You know, you're in these households, you know, some places, you know, you got to wear gloves. You can't leave the kitchen.
Yeah.
Can't touch certain things. So it was quite of a learning curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like unbelievable experience. But yeah, for me, working alone was probably the biggest challenge, because, you know, you'd always have other chefs that would do stuff for you. I was still quite young. So, you know, you'd have to rely on yourself 100%.
Yeah.
Every component ready on the dish, plating up, setting the tables. There was so much to it.
And did it take you long to learn that?
It did.
Yeah.
It did. Because there is such a higher standard in the private industry. And there's so many good chefs that do what I do. And, you know, there's always someone else that can replace you.
Yeah.
In the private industry, you know, there's tens and tens of chefs waiting to cook for royals and higher class celebrities, athletes. So it was always a learning curve to stay on top of my game and learn as much as I could, as quick as I could.
Yeah. And then so I'm guessing that when it first started, you were doing it kind of ad hocly, and when did it kind of become a real business idea for you?
So it kind of became a business, because I was always studying nutrition. It was kind of to get out of the chef game. I wasn't. It got to a point where I was thinking, you know what, this is not amazing. The money's dreadful. And then there was a job that came up here. You know, I'm from London originally, for Team GB cycling, and I just kind of jumped at that. And that's kind of when my whole career kind of opened up, is when I went with the Team GB team. I knew nothing about nutrition, but I could cook.
Yeah.
So kind of, that's when things started to change a little bit, and I was learning more about nutrition, and that was the kind of path that I wanted to go down.
What was it about nutrition that made you go to it?
Do you know what? It's quite a tough one, actually, because I've always been into, you know, working out, gym, staying fit, but I've always had a passion of, you know, I believe food should look amazing, taste amazing, but I like how it works for you as well, and being a chef and working these crazy hours, having that kind of background, seeing friends shattered, family shattered, it just made sense for me to learn, how we can squeeze a little bit more out of food and let it work for you, when you're absolutely exhausted, tired. And that's kind of where the passion first started.
And then what contribution do you think food plays to sleep, stress, performance, everything?
Yeah, everything. When you have a good whole food diet in place, it's just about stripping it back to the basics. There's so much noise out there. There's processed foods on the rise, obesity, illness. We're sicker than we ever have been. And concentrating on a whole food diet, you can combat all these things. You can be your best self. And I think when I was kind of had my philosophy in place and pushing this over to clients and seeing that work, this is kind of where it opened up a whole new realm of cooking for athletes and making a name for myself.
And what is that philosophy?
So I always believe a whole food diet is the key to what we, should be eating. I feel like we've lost a little touch of families cooking at home. How we eat is, we have Uber Eats now. We have all these, commercial convenience foods. And I think stripping back that noise a little bit and getting back to basics is where we thrive.
And what, for someone who doesn't know what whole foods are, because I reckon there's loads of people who, that's just a load of words. Like, what is it?
Yes, the whole foods is, if you look at how we was eating, I don't know, 50 years ago, we go into a supermarket now and probably 90% of what's in that supermarket is processed. When I talk about whole foods, I mean, going to a farm shop, picking up an apple, picking up a butternut squash or a carrot, and, making a meal out of the actual product itself rather than, picking up a packet of, crisps or curry that's already made. And that's kind of, where real nutrition actually starts because, you're at home, you're making it from scratch and you're using the raw ingredients to actually make it. And that's where the nutrients are. And that's where, good health actually comes from.
Yeah. And do you think what's driving this? Because even though fast food's on a rise, kind of this nutrition and eating better is also on the rise, I'd say.
Like, yeah, 100%.
Where's that coming from? Is that just more education of people?
Yeah. Do you know, I think it all started from COVID,
Yeah.
I think when we kind of was at home a lot, we was by ourselves, everyone started to, strip it back a bit. There wasn't much noise around. Everyone kind of slowed down. And we started focusing on ourselves a little bit more, I think. I think we, started to cook more at home. People were interested about, how their body works, their fitness, and they kind of opened up a new wave. And I think it's the younger generation now as well. The younger generation are so on top of this fitness game. When I was out in LA for quite a while, that whole area just opened my eyes up. Everyone is fit. Yeah. Everyone eats well. And I've never been nowhere like that in the world.
Yeah.
And it's the younger generation, man. They're just like thriving. They all want to look good. They want to look great on the beach. They want to eat well. And it's so refreshing to see, man.
Yeah. Well, we're in Manchester now and it's 9 o'clock this morning and I've just parked up the car. I was a little bit early. So I grabbed the coffee and I was like, I cannot believe how many people are running it. Like, I've never seen that in Manchester before. Like hundreds of people out running in the morning. I think 10 years ago that wouldn't have happened.
No. I think it's like our generation. I think we kind of slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
I think convenience food was on the rise when we were kind of teens, and it's kind of, grown from there. I think, but with this new kind of, generation, these young working professionals, Hyrox is a massive thing at the moment. Everybody's training, everyone's competing against themselves. And I think nutrition is only going to grow. And I think chefs have a great part in this. We are the next health professionals. It all starts with us. If we can show people how to eat and what to eat, this space is only going to grow.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that what's the saying, like, is that 20% gym, 80% nutrition or something like that?
Maybe a little bit more nutrition.
Yeah, more than that, would you say?
I think, you can't out-train a bad diet, man.
Yeah.
I've seen it a million times. I've got clients, some high profiles, that, they would be eating what they want. They got their own PT, and they're like, I'm just not getting the results, man. And until you tune in and actually, start eating well, looking at your proteins, your carbs, looking at the context of the food as well, go organic, get some clean meats in, fresh fish, it changes the game, man. I've seen it 100 times.
And would you say that's the biggest mistake people make when they're trying to improve their health? It's getting the nutrition right.
Yeah, 100%. I think we still need to be humans. I work with a lot of people who, eat well, train well Monday to Friday, so they can chill a little bit at the weekend. But I think that's what we're all like. I think there's this culture of the Monday to Fridays, but if I train well Monday to Friday and I eat good, I can kind of do what I want on the weekend. But that is probably where the 80 and 20s come in to it now. But if you want to go past that barrier and look good, feel good, and absolutely thrive, I think you need to push it up a little bit more, and kind of go with doing maybe the 90.
No, we'll have one day.
Yeah, just one day.
Because I guess like if you are trying to get healthy, look good, feel better, if you eat good for 5 days, you could pretty much ruin it in 2 days.
Oh, easy. And it's probably alcohol consumption as well. On the weekend, that just set you back 3-4 days anyway. So your first 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you probably find out, you just kind of recover from the weekend.
Yeah.
So when you actually do look at it, you probably only have 2 to 3 days of training and healthy eating because you're recovering from the other 3.
Yeah. And what effect, other than kind of knocking off your diet, what effect does alcohol have to play in nutrition?
I think alcohol has a huge effect. It kind of slows everything down. If you're feeling crap, then obviously it's going to affect everything. It's going to affect your work. It's going to affect how productive you are. Monday to Friday. I've noticed it with myself. I probably have a drink probably every 6 months.
Yeah.
Me and my wife will go out, maybe celebrate birthday, and I'll be struggling for 2 weeks, man. I'm getting so old now. I can't do it no more. We done it actually a few weeks ago. We went out for our anniversary. I had a couple cocktails, and I was back at the hotel for 9 o'clock. We looked at each other, like, we just can't do it.
Yeah.
So doing this, week in, week out, it does have a big effect on the body. But yeah, we still got to be humans.
Yeah.
And you still got to have fun. But if you do want to kind of get to that performance level and not just survive, there's a few factors that you do have to cut out.
And what relationship to I see an increase in kind of fad diets or new miracle supplements? Like
crazy.
What's your view on them?
Do you know what? There's always going to be something new. Nutrition is a market. It's a business. It always has been. And I think if everybody was healthy, there'd be a lot of people out of cash. Pharmaceutical companies are absolutely thriving because everyone is on some kind of supplement or some kind of pill. But the whole fad diets and all these superfoods, there are some things that do work, but I think if you haven't got a foundation in place, you add in extra stuff on top of it just ain't going to do anything. It's like I see some people that take up to 20 supplements a day, but there's no foundation in place. They're eating takeaways, they're not training right. So putting that on top of a poor diet, it just ain't going to do anything.
And do you think supplements have a part to play, or?
100%. I do believe that there is a place for supplements. I just think putting supplements in place off a good diet will never work. You always find that, people are like, I feel crap at the moment, I want to take some vitamin C, but no one really knows what these supplements are doing for you. Yeah. It's just a guessing game. And that's kind of where we brought in our blood testing, because we take the guessing out of everything like that. When we was out in LA, I was working with a lot of athletes, and I just see these guys being tested like every couple of months. I was like, it's absolutely crazy. And then they're getting these full blueprints of their body. Everything was targeted. If they're low on vitamin D, they would just target vitamin D, or we'd get it through food. And it's such a healthier way to kind of move forward.
And so that's something that you're offering now as a business, I guess?
Yeah, so 3 months ago, we launched our performance testing. And what this does, we send a test kit to your house. We send a nurse to your house. You get tested. And then that will go to our labs, comes back to us, and we will give you a full blueprint of what's going on. And it's been quite interesting because we've done it in the States for such a long time. And to be back here, the results were crazy. Yeah. We've had probably 4 out of 10 people are pre-diabetic.
Really?
Okay, we've tested hundreds of people. Diabetes was on the rise, liver problems, inflammation was through the roof. And I started to think, like, we need to do something about this. And that's why we kind of make this test so accessible to give people answers for the first time. And we've had some great feedback from the test. We give people a 6-week plan through Whole Foods. And after the 6 weeks, there was I think this was like over 90% of the people were actually all green again.
Really? So you can change it in 6 weeks?
It's literally probably around 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Just by stripping it back, come off the supplements, and just eat normal.
Eat whole foods.
It's literally that simple, Mo. It's crazy.
But do you think, I know because I've had a bit of experience, I did the Zoe thing where you wear something on your arm for a bit.
Yeah.
I can't remember, it was like maybe 3 months or however long it was.
I think it's for your blood sugars, I think.
Yeah, blood sugars, but like ultimately the end of it was eat better.
Yeah.
So do you think people need that test to be able to eat, like kind of proving it to them that they need to eat better?
Yeah, I think once you have it in black and white, we've had a couple clients where they've asked for chefs, but then, because they think they got a chef, they can, once the chef goes, they straight into the treat drawer.
Yeah.
But, once we kind of give them their results in black and white, they're like, cholesterol's through the roof.
Yeah.
Going on. It kind of opens your eyes a little bit. Even me, I took a test and there was a couple bits where I was saying, well, I thought I was on top of it.
Yeah.
But once you have these answers and a blueprint in place, you can actually do something with it.
Yeah.
And I just think for the answers, there's a few people that we've had and they've been in NHS system for years, don't know what's going on, they feel fatigued, they're tired, loads of stuff going on. And they come to us and they're like, listen, James, I'm going to try this test. I've been feeling like this for such a long time. And it's just like simple tweaks, they were low in vitamin D, cortisol was low, testosterone was low, and it's stuff that you can fix, in a matter of weeks. And just by giving people some answers, they're literally thriving now, man.
Yeah. What should a typical day look like? What should we be eating?
I think breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
And it depends on your training schedule as well. Wake up in the morning, you want to hit like 25 to 30 grams of protein straight away. Keep off the coffee because the coffee is just going to spike your cortisol through the roof. Give an hour, wake up, have a decent breakfast. Keep it like, it can be something super simple. I know people say about convenience, I don't have the time to do it. But, just having like a bowl of oats, a few eggs, some fresh nuts, some fresh fruits, it just set you up for the rest of the day, man. And the same as with lunch, keep it light at lunch. Again, protein rich, a nice complex carbohydrate source to keep you going through the rest of the day. And same as the evening as well. Just kind of build a meal plan around how you work. And it is quite hard because this is where we've always struggled because nutrition is so personalized.
Yeah.
There's not just one one route for everybody. And this is where I get so annoyed with all these social media posts like calories in, calories out, just do that because it's so different. We've tested hundreds of people, we've worked with hundreds of people, and not once has the meals been the same.
Yeah.
This other person might work out a little bit more, they might do this, they might sit in an office desk, the other person is a high profile athlete, so all our nutrition goals are different. And this is where the testing comes into place, where it plays such a huge role that we can build a blueprint around your actual body, not just around a whole network of people. Yeah,
because I guess they're just trying to say what's worked for one person, what might work for one person, and kind of then sell a plan around that.
True.
Yeah. And what? So all the diets that I've followed or eating healthy, like focused on calories, and then like your macro splits.
Yeah.
Does that work, or is that something that?
Yeah, 100%. I think everyone needs to have a good amount of protein, a good amount of carbs and fats every day. That's your macros. Without your macros, you just won't survive. I know there's other diets where they are stripping one of your macros out a little bit more, like the carnivore diet and other stuff like that. But again, everyone is so different. I think until you actually find out what works for you, I've tried the carnivore diet. I've tried loads of diets. I was actually really poorly on the carnivore diet, which a lot of people were thriving on. Whether that was just me or a bad timing, I don't know. But until you kind of find out how you tick and what works for you, I think that's when you kind of really find out, where you do thrive. I do believe, most of us out here at the moment are on 60 to 70%. I don't think we are nutritionally our true selves.
Yeah.
Until you actually dial it in, and then you can actually see how productive you can be and healthy, actually moving how we should be full term.
Yeah. And what, I guess the other thing in the diet that's kind of changed over the last, I don't know, maybe a year, 6 months is like the injections, so like Ozempic, and I guess there's loads of more. What's the risk of these that everyone's kind of using them now and it's becoming more frequently used?
Yeah, I think it's just the next wave. There's always been something going on. In the 90s, there were tablets were just like speed. Everyone was on them. It's just the next wave of fat loss from the pharmaceuticals. Don't get me wrong, I think these jabs do have a place. There's people that really do need them, especially people that are seriously obese and a diabetes situation. But then on the other hand, it's kind of setting up a culture where, I've neglected my body for years. I'm just going to, take a few jabs and get back to where I should be. And I think it takes the hard work out and how we actually should be moving forward. I just think it sets a bad example up in the nutrition world as well. We can eat well, but then obviously we've got easy way and easy way out. Just say I neglected myself for about 3 years, eated what I want, didn't work out. It's just easy for me to go and get an injection to drop this weight. And the scary part about this is, you lose fat plus you lose muscle as well. So you're stripping everything back, and it can cause a lot of problems, moving forward. So personally, I think unless you really, really don't need it, there is other ways to go down it, just strip it back, find a diet that works for you and go from there.
Yeah, I think it's like most things, it's a cheat, isn't it? And without putting the hard work in and being consistent, then you don't get the benefits. There was a study as well I was listening to yesterday actually about gastric bands. So there was a study done on people who had gastric bands, and 50%, so suicide went up after people had gastric bands.
It's tough, man.
But 50% of the time it was because of something wrong with the surgery, because it's quite an intrusive surgery. But also the other 50% was when it went well, and it was because people didn't have that crutch anymore. People used food as a crutch, and then it made them, like depression went up. Yeah. And I see probably the same thing going on with like Ozempic. Is that a risk as well?
Yeah, I think it is totally a risk. We don't know enough about it. And I don't think the pharmaceutical companies know enough about it either. I think we're at a stage where everyone can just see themselves losing weight. It's what it says on the box it is doing. Yeah. I think, but until we actually find out what the real side effects are, I don't think it's a safe thing to, go down that route. But again, there is people that are actually thriving on it. But again, we see, celebrities that are promoting it now. It's really big in the media, and it's just become the norm. And I think to lose touch with food and wellness and fitness, because whilst you're losing muscle with these jabs as well, it's suppressed your appetite, you can't work out, and you just find yourself, Monday to Friday having a jab, going to work, coming home, nutritionally it's not healthy, and you won't find yourself as active as well because you're always shattered. Yeah. So it just sets you up for like failure, personally.
Yeah. And I guess food's not only there to, I guess if you take the jabs and you're reducing your fat, it's there for energy as well. Like you need food to power yourself, don't you?
100%. And
so if you're eating less of it, then
if you're eating less, you're just going to feel like crap. And I think as you move forward, when do you decide that you're not going to take it no more? I think that's what a lot of people are going to struggle with, because it is online. These people are having online visits with a doctor. They're saying, yep, having a consultation, sending a jab out. So there's no one really there to hold you accountable or tell you when to stop. So all you're going to do is just keep stripping weight until there's not much left, mate.
Yeah. And what part do you think social media plays in that?
Huge. I think it's huge. I think, our generation, we didn't really have social media. I think everything on social media is playing a part where, I want to look good like my favorite influencer. And I see it with, PTs and people working out. There's some people that are genetically amazing.
Yeah.
And it's like, do my plan for 60 days and you're going to look like me. It literally doesn't work like that, man.
Yeah.
So I think for people that are promoting, weight loss jabs, they need to see the bigger picture of, what is affecting. And I think as we keep, moving forward, even for our children, they're just going to think this is normal.
Yeah. What differences do you see working with like elite performing athletes? What differences, other than the obvious, like they're elite at what they do, what is there between how they approach food and just how normal people approach food?
Do you know, I was actually quite impressed because when I first come into this industry, a lot of athletes do take supplements. It is kind of put upon on the club, but the whole food approach that a lot of them take, a lot of them don't eat whole foods, a lot of them just eat, some processed stuff from the clubs and some pastas and this and that, but they are so heavily involved, a lot of athletes, with how they do eat, which is absolutely fantastic for me. They take a lot on board, and I just think it's such a refreshing area because they have so many tools. There's so much investments into club, into the nutrition, into like the R&D, that they get that full support from such a young age.
Yeah.
And it's drilled into them. And I think that's what we're missing in our, society, in schools and doctors and everywhere like that. There's no one promoting that message unless you're this elite athlete and it's their job to look after you, because these players are investments. So, it's their well-being for them to be looked after and, to have a chef, to have the best supplements, the best nutrition. It's just a shame that it's not on the flip side of outside the athlete performance kind of side of the world.
How do you think we change that?
I think it starts with education, man. I really do. I think without the kids knowing how to eat, there's so many subjects. Even my kids, they learn so much of their RE. They got French lessons, German. I think like just put a nutritionist in there, like teach them how to eat. Like teaching kids how to eat is probably one of the most fundamental things that you could teach them. We've had kids come over, like school friends and stuff like that, and we've pulled out a kiwi or a pack of blueberries, and some of the kids don't know what they are, man.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. I grew up around food, so for me it's super normal, but for this day and age, it's lost, man.
Yeah, I remember in my school, I think food technology was like, how do you bake a cake as well? It was it's like not. It was not how do we make a good meal. It was like what cake can you make, or
making some bread or some cupcakes.
So for those, how would we do that at home? What's the best way do you think to kind of give the education to kids at home?
I think get the kids involved, man. Take them shopping with you. Me and my boy, we do shopping every Sunday. That's just our thing. He comes out. He sees what we're putting in the basket, what we're shopping, the meals that we're making. And, just get them involved with the meals each week. Ask the children what they'd like to eat. Maybe get them to try some new stuff as well, different fruits, different veggies. We had this challenge where we used to do 30 different fruits or veggies in a week. I know it sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
But you work it out over your meals, it's actually not. So that's always a fun thing to do with the kids as well, and kind of let them explore different foods. I think that's top. And, once they have a nice idea and different flavors and different tastes, it just sets them up to, start answering a few more. And my son was saying he picked up I think it's a pack of crisps the other day. And he's like, I don't think this is healthy, Dad.
Yeah.
And it's so refreshing to see, man, because I was thinking, if I wouldn't show him this stuff, he would never know. So, yeah, get the kids involved, man.
I think as well, like colourful. I've got 3 kids now, and getting them to try and get off beige food is difficult sometimes. I think fruit's the easiest one because it's pretty sweet. It's easy for them to get them into. It's just got
even stuff like smoothies, buy a fresh juicer, get the kids making their own juices and stuff like that. That's good. 100%.
Yeah, we went through a period of trying to get our eldest Pippa, who she loves cooking, so she'll do a bit of getting involved in the cooking. But then she was mad for making smoothies a lot.
Yeah.
She was dead into making them and then never drank them, which was
that's cool. I think
frustrating.
Yeah, I think even like a lot of my clients that I work with, they've got kids as well, and we always put fruit or veggies on their plate with their food, even if they don't touch it, just to see them present.
Yeah,
because I've cooked for a lot of athletes' children's as well. You know, we kind of look after the whole family, and you notice we've been putting broccoli on this plate for one little girl. And, you know, a few weeks just looked at it, yuck, and one day she just picked it up and just started eating it.
Yeah,
and it kind of just sets the ball rolling.
Yeah.
I think if they can see it's on the plate, they know it's edible, and it's around.
Yeah,
So,
it's an option for them, I guess.
100%.
What kind of drove you to continue down nutrition once you was doing the private chefing and that was working? Was that something that changed, or?
It's kind of always been a passion for me. I've always been into sports, been into my fitness. So it just felt right, you know. I tied in my nutrition side with my private dining. So when I kind of got the chance to cook for an athlete, it kind of just felt right, you know. I knew I could cook, so fueling them and showing them what to eat. But the main thing was to taste nice, you know, because there's so much healthy food where it's like, oh God, it feels like I'm eating like a bloody animal every day, grazing on grass. But for me, using my chef skills and my nutrition background, I could create healthy meals that was fueling them amazingly, and they taste amazing. So that was kind of the thing that worked for me, and I found my niche in that industry to kind of build a name for myself and keep moving forward with that.
What do you think of some of the myths around that the healthy food can't taste nice?
Oh, that's unbelievable. I think, you know, if you're a chef, it's, you know, if you season certain food with certain stuff, you know, it's not going to add no more calories. You know, you can still make food taste good. And I think when you kind of like strip it back and, you know, you're cooking with fresh food, the ingredients speak for themselves. You know, amazing steak, veggies from the farm, you know, fresh farm eggs. You can put such a decent meal together and it tastes amazing and it's nutritious. I think that is where that kind of gap closes.
What was that hard when you started working with athletes to bring them on that journey, some of them, or?
Do you know what? It actually wasn't. I've had a few guys where I've had athletes that are just like, James, I just want pasta every day. You know, we hire a lot of chefs in to look after our athletes now as well, where we've kind of grown over the years. So we look after a range of athletes from, you know, boxers, footballers, NBA players now. And they are all so different. They have so many different backgrounds, different nationalities. So we always have to kind of adapt our chefs and our menus. But yeah, it's, you know, it's always super fun, and it keeps us on top of our toes trying to find new ways to, you know, for them to enjoy their food, because at the end of the day, they're still paying for a chef and it still has to taste good.
And what's that first step look like? You've got a new athlete. How does that process look?
Yeah, so what we do, we sign a new athlete up. The first thing we do is find them the right chef. We give them a few different choices of chefs. They go over, we find which one works best. And then from there, we would take our athlete's bloods. We see exactly what's going on with him. We'll build a full profile up on that athlete. We'll sit down with him. We'll show him what's going on and how we're going to attack any nutrition deficiencies moving forward.
Yeah.
And yeah, we literally just go from there. It's quite a simple process, and it's a good kind of understanding for the chef. So if a chef comes into this industry, they can kind of see a full blueprint of their client, and what they need to cook and move forward with the athlete as well. So yeah, no, it's a super, like, you know, fantastic place to start with an athlete, because even they don't kind of know. They do blood testing at the clubs and stuff like that, but until you go fully in depth, it kind of opens up everyone's eyes, and they're like, wow, you know, I didn't know I needed more of this or more of that.
Yeah.
And to show them that they can get the bits that they need through food is absolutely fantastic. So it's kind of just setting a good base and example up moving forward.
And I guess once they can see the results, that's kind of proof in itself.
Of course it is. And I think, you know, after you go, you know, 3-4 weeks eating certain foods and bridging them gaps with whole foods, and they can feel it in their performance, it's a win-win.
What relationship do you have with the clubs when you're doing this? Do they want to be involved, or they kind of leave you to it?
Sometimes you can be quite nosy.
Yeah.
It depends who you're working with on
Right.
the club. Sometimes you've got clubs that just totally leave you alone,
Yeah.
and you got other ones that are just on your back. You know,
Right.
what's going on? There's a client recently that I was working for, and his bloods have been perfect for like 6 months when they do the testing at the club.
Yeah.
And he's like, his veggie score was through the roof. And he's like, so what's going on over there, James? You know, do you reckon you could pop over to the club and, you know, speak with a few of the guys? And yeah, so it kind of depends. And then you got other teams that just totally leave you alone.
Yeah.
So it kind of just depends who
Mixed.
you're working for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From working in sort of high pressured environments,
Yeah.
going into working with elite athletes,
Yeah.
what are your principles, and have they changed over the time?
So obviously I've always been a chef, I think. So the whole business side kind of like grew with me. As we were taking on more players and more chefs, I kind of just had to adapt of what I was doing on a kind of business scale and learn on the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
What part of, so obviously you started out on your own doing this for athletes, then you brought other people in to do it on your behalf and work for you.
So,
How's that been and managed, and did you find that difficult?
yeah, it was super difficult. There was a time when there was a lot of chefs that were doing it. We've stripped it back a couple of times. We've changed the business model of how we worked. And for me, it was always trust, you know, finding the right chefs to have the same passion that I had and to go into an athlete's house and give them 100%. But, you know, luckily I've met some amazing chefs. You know, some had no nutrition experience and they come back to me. There's been chefs that I found myself. There was a guy not far from here in a casino one night in Manchester, and he was by himself. And he was like proper going at it. I was like, I need to get that guy, man. I said, what a chef. And I spoke to him and I said, do you want to come work with me? And he's like, well, what'd you do? We had a good conversation. And I trained him.
Right.
He was literally a Portuguese kid,
Yeah.
25 years old. And we took him on board, trained him for 4 years. I got him a trial with a super athlete, probably one of the best in the world.
Wow.
And now he's been with him for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, top.
That's amazing.
I know, unbelievable story.
How much of that kind of mentorship and how much of that mentorship and teaching, do you get energy from that? Do you like doing that side of things?
Well, yeah, I love it. I love bringing chefs through. You know, I love seeing chefs win. You know, this industry is so hard. And there's a lot of graft that goes behind the scenes, you know, and there's a lot of chefs that work in amazing restaurants, but they struggle to put food on their own table. So kind of me bringing chefs out of that environment, teaching them, showing them how you can, you know, give yourself a better life just by a little bit of training, working nutrition, put you in the right place. It was just fantastic for us. You know, we've brought a lot of chefs through and they work for us even now.
And what does a typical day look like for a private chef?
I'd say, so you probably wake up in the morning, you hit your farm shops, go to your organic stores, supermarkets. You was going to the house, you do a bit of prep, speak with the client. Some clients are super involved. They like to help you out a little bit, sit with you, speak all morning.
Yeah.
You probably make some breakfast. Once breakfast is done, you get ready for your lunch. Then we go off to training. While that training, you get the food ready for the evening food. And you kind of reset that. Maybe like Monday to Friday is probably the normal standard. You'd be building meals around their training schedules, traveling schedules. Some players will play 3 times a week, others will play once. So the whole nutrition side needs to be tweaked all through the week. Training schedules totally change. You know, when I was out in LA and I was working for athletes over there, they would travel from state to state, so they would travel so much. We travel with them.
Right.
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. It just kind of depends on what the athlete's actually doing themselves. But yeah, you know, sometimes we have to, like, you know, look at the whole nutrition side of going into games, the recovery. There's so much that goes into it.
And what? This is just a completely selfish question because I travel a bit with work.
Okay.
And one of the things that I struggle with, although
is eating while you're traveling.
Eating while I try at service stations or when you're away, hotels, like, what's the best advice you can give for that?
It's always tough, you know. This is a question we get all the time. And even me, a lot of people do say that, you know, with the traveling. I think you have to be realistic. There is some great convenient stuff that you can buy. You know, you can make protein shakes. You can buy some protein shakes. You can keep your protein up. And even maybe a small bit of prep. I think just keep an eye on your macros, how you're traveling, how you are eating. You know, I really do believe that we all know what we should be eating. We know where we suffer. We know what we should, but, you know, sometimes everyone's a little bit biased.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just keep on top of it, do a little bit of prep if you're traveling, and just kind of claw back, you know, the McDonald's
Yeah.
takeaways.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, you know when you
Yeah.
you know if you're going to go to KFC that
Yeah.
that's not good.
No, 100%. And this is what I think a lot of it is. I think a lot of people know how to eat. It's just that the bad choices are in front of us all the time.
Yeah.
And until you kind of get over that and build that mindset of, you know, well, you know, I've been eating for 6 weeks healthy now, I feel incredible. I think that's where the temptation goes.
Yeah. And what part do you think like discipline of that has to play?
Discipline is a huge part, you know, and I see it with the athletes. You know, I've been with athletes that are 100% focusing, and I'll be with other guys that are a nightmare. You know, I'll come back after pre-season and the treat jars filled with the Kit Kats and chocolate crisps, Haribos a lot. But yeah, I think if you can dial in and get, I believe that there's a threshold where you start feeling incredible, and then you get to that point where, you know, you don't even want to touch anything no more. You know, you think, if I do this, it might push me back a couple of days. It's just kind of getting over that step.
Yeah. And what relationship do you reckon there is between discipline and motivation?
Yeah, I think to be motivated, you know, I think once your discipline's in place and you have a great foundation there, I think that's where the motivation comes from, because I think when you eat good, you feel good, you know, and you're motivated to do more stuff. You know, you're motivated to get up in the morning, go to the gym, go to work, finish off that book that you've always wanted to, you know, write. So yeah, I think it comes literally hand in hand.
And what do you think the everyday people should be doing? What's the message to everyone?
I think just stay at home, cook. I know it's hard. I know everybody, you know, has busy lives. You're all trying to make a living. But I think when it's impacting how we feel on a day-to-day basis, you know, we just need to start stripping it back a little bit, you know, get back home, start cooking your meals again, do a little bit of prep. Even if you do it for, you know, 3-4 days a week, it's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, I'll ask that again. So how do you think people can raise the floor?
I think the best way is, you know, strip it back, stop listening to all the noise. There's a hell of a lot of noise out there on nutrition and, you know, what we should be doing. But I think, you know, we need to get back to how we used to eat 30 years ago, start cooking at home, teaching our kids food again, teaching our kids how to eat. And I feel from that is where you will actually find our best self.
Brilliant. Cheers, James. Appreciate it.
Buddy, thank you.